All right. So, we're all about staying ahead of the curve here, making sure you've got the insights you need without wading through mountains of information. And there's been a pretty significant development recently that caught our eye: new U.S. tariffs on Vietnam.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
Definitely worth a deeper look. So what we're going to do today is really unpack this whole situation. What exactly are these tariffs all about? Which industries are going to be most affected? Why is Vietnam being targeted in the first place? And perhaps most importantly, how might Vietnam respond? We've got a whole stack of research here, reports, analyses, you name it.
Yeah, a really interesting mix of perspectives.
Exactly. And our mission today is to break it all down for you. So let's kick things off with the tariffs themselves. The U.S. has imposed what they're calling reciprocal tariffs, basically tariffs levied in response to a large trade surplus.
Right, so essentially a way of trying to rebalance the scales.
Exactly. And for Vietnam, this translates to a hefty 46% tariff. That's among the highest rates globally.
Yeah, you're looking at almost like a 50% increase in the cost of Vietnamese goods for American importers.
A huge barrier to trade.
Absolutely.
And thinking about the impact on Vietnam, which industries are really going to be in the firing line here?
Well, we're talking about some of Vietnam's key export sectors: textiles, footwear, electronics, seafood, wood products.
So these are really significant industries for
A
them.
huge chunk of their economy. So this tariff could really put a damper on their growth in the U.S. market. Now, interestingly, pharmaceuticals and semiconductors seem to be exempt for now.
Interesting. All right, so big tariffs, key industries affected. But the question remains, why Vietnam? What's behind this move by the U.S.?
There's a few things at play here. There are allegations of transshipment, meaning goods, often from China, are being routed through Vietnam, relabeled to avoid those existing U.S. tariffs on Chinese products. Then you've got the fact that Vietnam's exports to the U.S. have grown very rapidly in recent years, and there have also been some concerns voiced about Vietnam's monetary policy.
So it's a combination of factors, concerns about potential unfair practices, but also the sheer volume of goods flowing from Vietnam to the U.S.
Exactly.
Now, how has Vietnam reacted so far?
They're taking it seriously.
Hmm.
They've already set up a rapid response task force to, really dig into the potential economic impact and start planning countermeasures.
Makes sense.
And at the same time, they've opened up negotiations with the U.S., hoping to, maybe delay, possibly even soften the blow of these tariffs.
Smart move. So beyond these immediate reactions, what kind of longer-term strategies are they considering?
Diversifying export markets, for sure.
Yeah.
Looking beyond the U.S. to regions like the EU and ASEAN.
Right. Spreading the risk.
Exactly. They're also thinking about how to boost domestic consumption. That way, if exports take a hit, they've got a stronger internal market to fall back on.
Interesting.
And of course, investing in innovation, particularly in higher value sectors like tech and pharmaceuticals, really boosting their long-term competitiveness on the global stage.
So a really multi-pronged approach there.
Absolutely.
Any other specific measures they might take?
Strengthening their negotiating position with the U.S., perhaps proposing new trade agreements, maybe even increasing imports of U.S. goods.
I see.
And then on the domestic front, we could see government support for businesses that are hit hard by the tariffs, things like subsidies, tax breaks. And finally, they're talking about enhancing transparency around their trade practices, addressing those concerns about transshipment and currency manipulation head on.
Okay, so let's recap. The U.S. has hit Vietnam with some pretty significant tariffs, citing trade surplus concerns, alleged transshipment, and issues with monetary policy. This is going to have a big impact on some of Vietnam's key export industries, but Vietnam is fighting back with immediate negotiations and a whole range of potential countermeasures.
It's a really interesting case study.
It is, isn't it? And it really highlights the complexity of global trade.
Yeah, one country makes a move and the ripples are felt all over the world.
It makes you think, doesn't it? How these tariffs, how Vietnam's response, it could reshape not just their trade relationship with the U.S., but potentially influence global supply chains and economic strategies for other countries as well.
Absolutely. It's a situation with far-reaching consequences. We'll have to keep a close eye on how it unfolds.
Absolutely. Lots to think about.